Welcome back to the X-Men 10 of Swords saga right here at Comicstorian, where we take some of your favorite comic books, trade paperbacks, single issues, and we break them down into digestible bites before we dramatically read it back to you. 10 of Swords was a saga that recently ended in the X-Men storylines, which features the worlds of Arakko and Krakoa in a battle to decide who will win Otherworld. We've got a bunch of videos down below that gives you the entire pretext to what's going on, but today's episode is going to give you the origins of Apocalypse, along with explaining a little bit more of the Captain Britain core. Are you ready to see where Apocalypse gets his motivation, where his drive comes from? Today is chapters 9 and 10. Let's go. The attendant turns away from the window, shouting for the priestess to prepare themselves. Outside, King Jamie Braddock laughs as his griffin mount descends towards the citadel, Brian beside him. All right, come on and land, Betsy shouts to her brothers as they draw closer. Betsy is cross with her brothers, reminding Jamie that their nations are a state. But Brian just smiles and tries to hug his sister. What is that on your hip? She asks, holding her hand to stop her brother. The smile slowly fades from his face. I brought it for you, he tells her, anger flashing in her voice as she begins to shout at him. Well, I don't want it! Take it to Krakoa or stick it in the sigil! She shouts. Brian motions to the sword, telling her that one of them needs to wield it in the prophecy. But Betsy storms away, telling Brian that her sword suits her fine. But Brian stops his sister, thanking her for taking on the role of Captain Britain from him. But he tells her that he's ready to take it back. They're suddenly interrupted, though, as Saturn IX walks in, reminding Betsy that she sent her here to greet their guests, not to belittle them. Jamie smiles broadly as Saturn IX turns and walks away. He walks with her, trying his best to flirt with the Queen, and she leads the trio into a great garden, lined with statues of the fallen Captain Britons. She explains that the garden stands as a memorial to the fallen Captain Britain core of the multiverse. Since their loss, the Otherworld has lacked a core of true protectors, Saturn IX tells them, but Betsy interrupts, explaining that they do have a Captain Britain core. But the Queen turns away in a huff, explaining that they are heretical, and they will be dealt with. She explains that any Captain Britain that hasn't made the choice to become one is deemed rogue and must eventually be destroyed. That's ridiculous! I didn't have to make a choice, Betsy tells her. And Saturn IX glances at Captain Britain. Your words, not mine, she says simply. Finally, Betsy has had enough and reminds them that they still need to find the Starlight Sword and storms out of the gardens. As she moves through them, past the statues of the fallen Captain Britons, she finally turns, swinging her sword. Stop following me, she snaps at Brian, who blocks her attack with a sheathed sword of might. She steps back, ordering her brother to draw his weapon, but Brian refuses, not knowing who the hero he becomes is, or what he fights for. I won't draw my weapon in anger for a cause I don't recognize, Brian tells her. But Betsy continues to fight, ordering her brother to draw his weapon. She knows that he wants the amulet of right back, but she isn't ready to give it up. She isn't ready to give up being Captain Britain. You have no idea what this means to me, she yells at him as he dodges another of her blows. Brian dodges, knocking her down, forcing Betsy to fall in the roses. But the fight is interrupted as Saturn IX appears once more. She smiles at them, asking if things will be cordial by dinner. I believe so, my lady, Brian tells her with a nod. And in the middle of the night, a creak in his bedroom awakens King Jamie Braddock. He smiles as he rolls over, believing it to be Saturn IX, but his eyes go wide as he looks up. Oh no, he whispers. Jamie Braddock, the mad king of Avalon, the Captain Britain Corps sentences you to death, Rogue snaps at him, with the rest of the Excalibur team behind her. Back in the garden, Betsy continues to swing her sword, attacking various statues, but she turns to run towards her brother's room when she hears him screaming. Grabbing the sheathed sword of might as she passes, she races through the citadel and is joined by Brian, who she tosses the sword to. Damn it, Betsy! He snaps. They both arrive at Jamie's room to find their brother holding off the Captain Britain Corps. Oh my god! They got out! Betsy shouts. It's a real shame about that! Now I've got to kill them all! Jamie yells. Betsy's eyes glow as she orders her brother to drop her friends. Don't you try that with me! I'll put you up here with them! Don't think I won't! He snaps at his sister. He tells his siblings that he believes that Saturn IX will reward him if he kills them all, but he pauses, turning back to Jubilee. Let's say I split the difference and just kill one, he says, and with a loud snap, Jubilee falls to the floor. The team falls in anguish as Jamie holds out his hand and the sword flies to it. Had to even the odds. You understand, he says simply. The team begins to chase them through the halls of the Citadel, screaming for Jaime's death. Betsy blocks their attacks with her shield, shouting for her brother to draw the Sword of Might. I will not draw the sword in anger, he shouts back at her as they continue to run. But that's when one of Gambit's attacks fly past Betsy's defenses. Brian throws up his sword to block the attack, and the blow begins to burn through the scabbard. As the weapon is unsheathed, a bright light fills the chamber. Stand back! I draw the Sword of Might in the defense of the family Braddock and the life of my brother, King Jaime of Avalon. I am! Brian begins to recite, but Jaime interrupts him. All mine! I'm gonna call you Captain Avalon, he shouts with glee. Brian nods, turning to the Captain Britain Corps, ordering them to stand down. But Saturn IX appears. Stepping forward, she puts her hand on Brian's cheek. Put that old Sword of Might down and take these fraudulent captains to the prison cells for me, she asks with a soothing voice. But Betsy steps forward, telling the Queen that they need a trial. Saturn IX holds out her hand, pulling the amulet from around Betsy's neck, telling her that she gets her own cell. But Betsy reaches out, destroying the amulet with a blast of psychic energy. Anger fills the Queen's voice as she grabs Betsy by the hair, ordering the prisoners to be brought to the cells to be executed at dawn. As everyone is led away, Saturn IX turns back to Brian. Brian, my dear, will you escort me to my chambers? She says sweetly. Later, Betsy sits in her dark cell, and she reaches out with her mind, trying to locate her team. But it is Jaime who responds. Hello, love, it's the king. Jump out the window into the blackness for me, he asks his sister. After a brief moment, Betsy finally leaps into the void, and as she plummets, she is suddenly caught by Jaime and his griffin. He smiles, asking who could sleep at a time like this. Come on, we've got to get in there and rescue Brian, he tells her. Up in her chamber, Saturn IX sits in Jaime's lap, proud that everything has played into her hands, and she stands walking to a pool of water, drawing forth the Starlight Sword. I don't need the amulet. Now you will defend the Citadel in all reality with a sword forged from its very walls, she tells him, and she holds the blade out to him, ordering him to take it. Brian wraps his arms around her, and Saturn IX drops the weapon to the floor. My lady, I would love nothing more, he whispers to her, leading her to the bed where he lays her down. But he suddenly pulls away. Betsy, take it! He shouts as Betsy launches herself across the room, grabbing the weapon. She grips it, once again transforming into Captain Britain. She looks at the Queen, proud that they managed to overcome her prophecy, that Brian has found a new role in defending Avalon. Unhappy, the Queen stands. Well played. I look forward to another round, she hisses at the siblings. Later, Betsy and Brian step through the portal to stand before the sigil on Krakoa. They both place their blades against it. For Queen and country, mine and yours, Betsy confirms. Krakoa, the healing chambers. Apocalypse is struggling in pain as the others attempt to hold him down. Lorna steps forward at her father's command, folding metal around the powerful mutant's body to hold him steady. The healing isn't working, and with the resurrection being down, it might be a few days before Apocalypse could even come back. Xavier turns to Hope, asking if she could augment the healer's powers. She can, but the healer interrupts and tells them that they could just easily kill him. What are the chances that he makes it through? Beast asks, and Apocalypse glances up from his table. Better than yours. Do it! He orders. Hope and the healer step forward, and the light begins to glow around Apocalypse's body as he screams in agony. Through the pain, memories flash through Apocalypse's mind. First, there was the land of Arakara, but the twilight sword of the enemy split the land in two. From the chasm, from the dark world, a horde of demons poured into the land. The horde swept over the remains of Akara, killing thousands, but 100 other champions brought the fight to their enemies, stepping into the void to hold them back. The horde's numbers began to dwindle, and the mutants became strong. That was when Apocalypse met Genesis. She was stronger than any that he had met before, strong enough to turn back the enemy. It was later that they sat together, Apocalypse and his family, to talk of peace with their enemy. You split the world, but we have punished you for it. Now you ask for parley. Speak if you are going to. If not, you can expect more of the same. There's no avoiding paying for what you've done. Apocalypse rumbles to his enemies, but one of the monsters steps forward with a box. A voice speaks, ordering the creature to open the box, and it reveals a mask, which the creature puts on. writhing in pain as the mask seems to latch itself to the creature's skin. "Now let me see you with my true eyes," the voice speaks out of the mask. The mask sees the strength of Apocalypse and his family and knows that they are worthy, so it wishes to make them an offer. "So make it," Death snarls. But the mask shakes its head, telling them that they need to earn it. Two mighty warriors step forward and Apocalypse begins to stand. "No, they are mine," Genesis says, putting a hand on her husband's shoulder to stay with him. Genesis traces the magic sigils in the air, and the vines begin to raise up and entangle the creatures, killing them. Apocalypse knows not what words were whispered into his wife's mind, but she became more determined, and eventually, Genesis' sister turned and all hope was lost. Finally, his family stood before him and Genesis told him that they would seal the breach to protect the world. "Araco will hold as long as we breathe," she promised him. So Apocalypse steps forward, telling his wife that he wishes to go with her, and she kisses him, and she tells him that he is not strong enough. "Stay. Use what time we buy you to make this world into something that can stand against our enemy. Judge them, my love. Judge them," she tells him. Healer and Hope step back as Apocalypse lurches to his feet. He is whole, Hope tells them, but Apocalypse shakes his head. "Far from it. But I am well enough to travel, and I will return shortly," he tells them. Xavier turns, questioning him about where he is going. "I need my sword," he replies grimly. He travels to western Egypt, where he and Gorgon find the Temple of the Horsemen, and inside, Apocalypse finds the tombs that were meant for his children. He shatters them, finding the 4 parts of his sword, the scarab, and as the pyramid crumbles, he walks away. "Looks like a sharp blade," Gorgon notes with a smile. "It is. Now watch as I wield it," Apocalypse growls. And that concludes Chapter 10 of 10 of Swords. Now, it's going to keep coming out every Monday right here at the Comicstorian channel, so please consider giving this video a like, leaving us a comment down below to help with the new algorithm, and of course, subscribing to our channel. You can also get early access to a lot of our videos, including the 10 of Swords series, by going over to our Patreon, patreon.com/Comicstorian. Seriously, guys, thank you so much for your continued support. The algorithm is butchering this channel, but with you guys here, I think we can make it through and keep going. You guys are awesome, seriously, and I will see you next time right here at Comicstorian.